Yeah, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. How's it going, homies and homiettes, I guess? I don't know what the feminine of homies is. I'm not much of a speaker, I'm not going to lie, I'm not being humble, so you guys have to participate. And I'm going to hate on you guys in particular because whenever I would come to give talks at your church, you guys would be like dead silent. So like, I really need you guys to actually interact because a talk is useless if it doesn't go where you guys want it to go, right? So if we want to actually like benefit, then I have stuff in my mind that might not be relevant to you guys, or it might not be the same as it was for me as it was for you. So I need you guys to actually like comment, to participate, to say stuff. Or it'll just suck. So I was asked to talk about two things that are semi-related. So part of it was the love of God, but part of it was about living a balanced life. So I'm focused on the balanced life because you can't have a balanced life if you don't know the love of God part as well. So we'll take wherever you guys want to go. But to get into it, I wasn't planning this, but since you guys had your election, I'm Canadian, so I have nothing to do with what you guys did. So, Mabruk, Annie, on your new president-elect. So, let me ask you guys, what were most people's reactions to the election of Mr. Donald Trump?
What?
The opposite of congratulations.
I was happy it wasn't Clinton, to be honest.
So you're happy it wasn't Clinton. I'm going to come back to that. So some people were happy that it wasn't Clinton. How did others react? They both suck. I know that Canadian immigration website went down that night. That's actually a fact. It has been confirmed. So, okay. So why were people so... Was anybody moderate in their reaction? Like, were most people saying like, oh yeah, it's Mr. Trump? What was mostly the reactions? Was it extremes? Was it moderate? What were the reactions?
Pretty
Extremes. Why?
This is like, we never had an election like this.
Two polar opposite people. Okay. Why?
Because one's like a reality TV star,
Okay.
a businessman, and kind of racist, and then the other one is a crooked politician and a woman.
Okay.
Who's the first of like, what first woman?
So we have a female crooked politician who could be the first female president. Okay. And we have a bigoted racist reality TV star on the other hand. Okay. So what is the issue? Why can't we be excited about that? Why not be excited to have a reality TV star who's racist, or have a lying female first? It's not TV. Okay.
Because a lot is at stake.
A lot is at stake. Okay, that's an important point. A lot is at stake. But what's the big deal? Why are these the reactions? What do people want? Why is it a big deal that one person is a good politician but a liar, and then the other person is a good businessman but not a good politician? Why does that matter?
Well,
Very good. She made the connection for me. So without realizing it, right, what you're saying is these people aren't balanced. You're saying this is an extremist, right? Is that you have an extremist on this side, an extremist on this side, and that's a problem. Why is that a problem? Very obvious. Life is... Okay, an extreme only presents one side of the coin. In other words, life isn't about one thing, right? So a president isn't only about having a good economical plan, right? There's something more to being a politician, right? So in order to find a balance, we need to first recognize what? The options. More than that, if I'm trying to choose a balanced president, okay, how do I determine who is the balanced president? Sorry? How do you research? So you say, what is balanced president? Google.
You look at all his policies, all his everything he says he's going to do.
Okay, so you find other policies. Then how do you find out that they're balanced?
Priorities, like things you want to see in the country and you want to elect someone to represent.
Okay, so you've defined priorities. How do you know they're balanced?
Because there's some sort of there might be some sort of loss that you're going to accept, but it's going to be like there's something that's going to happen.
So you can either rewrite the laws, which he's promising, or he might follow the laws. So then what? How do we determine still if that person is balanced? Because a person could be an extremist and be legal, like still follow the laws.
What's good for like everybody? Like what's the best for population?
You're going to become my victim. Sorry. No, because that's what I wanted to get to, because this is something that people say all the time. So how did you determine what's good? Those who are at the convention know where that's going. I won't make you my victim, don't worry.
Okay.
Go for it.
Well, you can't necessarily determine what's good for both sides, but like at least what both sides would like to see in a country necessarily.
Well, clearly both sides had something they wanted to see, right? It was a pretty split popularity contest, not in terms of whatever you guys call the electoral thing. So even then, how does that determine whether somebody was balanced? How did I determine what was good?
Isn't that relative to the individual who's determining it?
It is relative.
Okay, relativity. There has to be an absolute.
Right. There has to be a definition. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at. If you don't have a definition, if you don't know what the role is, how do you assess? Right? If you don't know who is a president and what does he or she do? It was Schwarzenegger line. Who is your daddy and what does he do? If you don't know what the role is, how on earth are you going to assess whether he or she is balanced? What is the role of a president? Right? What does the president do? Is the president simply an administrator of the law? Or is the president somebody who represents the country? Is the president, who is it? Because if I don't know what defines a president, then all of this discussion we're having is totally random, which is exactly what's happening, right? Everybody's yelling and screaming and unfriending each other like it's like the end of the world, right? And then you have like celebrities that have vowed to leave America for however long he's in office. I think somebody promised that they were going to go to Mars, which is pretty bold. I hope she makes it. But they can make room for all of us. So we have to have a definition. So if you don't know what you need to balance, how are you going to be balanced? Right? Because it means that if you don't know what you're supposed to balance, you're just going to look at everybody around you and say, okay, well, this is what everybody around me is doing, so I guess that's what balance is, right? But that's not a definition, right? If we were to go based on what everybody says about everything, we could run into really big problems, right? Like, a lot of Germans thought it was okay to kill Jews. So was that right? Right? A lot of Americans, sorry for the low blow, thought it was okay to have slaves. Was that okay? We accepted them in Canada. The Underground Railway came to us. Okay, but so it can't be determined, okay, or defined based on your random thoughts and opinions. Okay, so we need something objective. So if you're talking about balance in your life, what are the things that you think need to be quote unquote balanced? Okay, so spiritual life because we're on a church retreat, so good answer. Okay, so what else needs to be balanced? Schoolwork. Okay, school/work or schoolwork?
Schoolwork.
Okay, all right. What else? Okay, spiritual life has been said. We got that.
Social life.
Oh, social life. I was like, we already got Jesus. Okay, so we've got spiritual life, social life, work, and what else? Academia. What else? Personal life, time to yourselves. Okay, good. Like to have a life. Okay, anything else?
Family.
Family. Okay. Okay, good. So these are good categories. We agree on our categories. But I'm going to divide them up maybe a little bit differently. One is I'm going to say worship or spiritual life, like you guys identified. I'm going to change what you called personal life, like the relationship aspect. I'm going to call it love, okay, and we'll come back to that. And then work, which for you guys right now, for most of you, is probably school, like the two are equated. And then I'm going to just call the fourth one play, okay, because like what you do with your social time, that's your playtime, okay? And so we're allowed and encouraged actually to have playtime. So I'm mostly going to dwell on the Jesus part because I'm a priest, okay? And that's the part that I think I was asked to talk about. But we can talk about the other ones too. So we said we need to determine who is a president, right? So if you're going to talk about religious life, how do you view religious life in terms of your balance?
So you're supposed to be number one, but who's not right now?
Okay, he's number one, but he's not right now. Why? Not why is he not number one? Why is he number one? What, like theoretically?
Because the whole purpose of our being here on earth is to be able to like to be with him as that.
Okay. Why can you be with him here?
Yeah. Here is like a short period of time compared to like later.
Okay. I'm gonna be. When I be sarcastic, by the way, I'm not shooting down anything you say. I'm just used to playing devil's advocate. Okay. So I would say, so are you saying like, okay, just chill here because it's just like a moment compared to after, or like, what's the rationale behind it?
So the way I see it is, if you don't want to spend time with him now, then it's kind of like a sign for you telling him like, I want to spend time with you later.
Okay, gotcha. So I was taking it the wrong way. Okay, I agree. It was smart. Can't shoot you down. Okay, I want more thoughts. What is spiritual life? What is its weight in your life? How do you view it? Is this like a compartment? Is it like I make time for this every day? Like how does it fit in terms of the balance?
A relationship with God,
Okay, what does that mean?
like being able to talk to him and ask him for help and like just like a friend.
Okay. And then how much does that weigh in the balance? It's big. Shata. Okay. Some of you guys. Awkward silence. I want to go somewhere with this. Okay? Because I think that one of the issues is that we look at spiritual life as a compartment. So I was trying to help you out with the way I asked it. Go for it.
So with each of these categories, we have to apply the spiritual life in them. They take part in our social life, play a lot.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. So we're going to talk about time devoted to the worship part, but this is exactly the issue, right? Is that the majority of us are looking at the spiritual life as this like thing in our lives. Right, so like I spent time with my family, I played, I read, I went and played Pokemon or whatever, and I did all this stuff, and then I sat down and you do your Bazuki sign of the cross if you even do that, right? And I did my religious homework, and I'm good, right? I don't know why we do that, okay? Because if we do that, it means that I actually don't know who I am. Right? If I'm a president, right? If I say, oh, I have this aspect of my life of being president, do you think that will be an effective president? No. Right? So if he says, well, it doesn't matter that I'm doing this inappropriate embezzling of money because I wasn't doing that in my capacity of president. Right? During that period, I was taking a time out during the day from being a president. Can he or she do that? Right? Would anybody take that seriously? We clobber him, right? But we do it as Christians all the time. If any president did that, he'd be impeached like in no time, right? They're like, no, you can't do that. You're the president. You should know better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So the president has an identity that he can't flee from, right? So he can't balance his presidency or her presidency outside of the context of being president. It's impossible, right? It's like the mom saying, well, when I yelled at you, I wasn't yelling at you as a mom. I was just yelling at you as insert my name here, right? Would any of you take that remotely seriously? So then why can we get away with that with religion? Okay, because this is what we do all the time, and it's why non-Christians hate you. Because we say stuff that we don't do, right? We're like, oh, don't be judgmental, right? Don't lie, don't steal. Meanwhile, you're cussing up a storm, right? You're cheating on the test just like everybody else, right? You're selling the stuff that you're saying, the haram, haram, haram. No, right? This is complete nonsense, right? You can't divorce yourself from the identity. I mean, you can, but then just don't give yourself that identity. You can resign, right, from being president, right? But you can't call yourself president or mom or whoever because it's part of your identity. So what is your identity?
Christian.
Okay, and what does that mean?
Follower of Christ.
And what does that mean? There's something deeper than most of us realize. These are all right, but I want you to go deeper.
Image of God.
Very good. What does that mean? The image of God, the image and likeness of God.
So basically we have to be like God. So people, when they see us, they get reminded of Jesus and God and stuff like that from what we do, like naturally, not even talking about God.
I'm going to say 60% right. There's nothing you said that's actually wrong, or the 40% was just incomplete. Is that actually it's not just me who's in the image and likeness of God. It's everybody. Every human being is in the image and likeness of God. Not everybody is participating in that, which is what our baptism is for, okay, of saying, I accept this calling, right? I accept that I am your son or your daughter. Okay, but every human being is the image and likeness of God. Because Adam and Eve were created, and they had all these offspring. Okay, there was no like, all right, those who want to be with me, check out this garden. Okay, and then those who don't, you can go play in the fields with the other Neanderthals. Okay, that wasn't how it works. Instead, he created, right, and it says that he gave man his image and likeness. And what does that mean? Okay, I want you to think of the ants. Okay, imagine those of you who did the competition, you'll have already read this because I wrote that part. So I'm not stealing it. If I decide to give the ants the ability to be me as a human, okay, where I say, okay, these little ants, they play around, blah, 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 and I'm going to say, I'm going to give it the ability to think like me. I'm going to give it the ability to rationalize like me. I'm going to give it the ability to come up with ideas to solve complex problems. I'm going to let it have emotions. I'm going to have give it the ability to take on my characteristics, right? Who has the ant become a projection of?
You.
Right. Who determined its identity?
You.
Me. Right? So if God made me, that's why if you believe in a God, okay, which I theoretically do if you're here, okay, then when he made me, he did that. Okay? He determined my identity. Am I God by nature? No. Right? God is God by nature. But am I God by grace? Yes. It's like he said, I'm going to adopt you and I'm going to give you the ability to be exactly like me, which is what he said. That's why he said, be perfect even as your Father in heaven is perfect. Right? That's why he said, be holy even as I am holy. He gave all these instructions because he gave us the ability to be like him. Right? Why do you think, this isn't our talk today, but a lot of people who have spent time with me, I'll talk a lot about the monks that I've met, who have all sorts of spiritual gifts. A monk that will be able to read a mind, another monk that's like a sowah, another monk who's like a whatever. Where do they get these gifts from?
God.
Exactly. They conformed themselves to the image and likeness in which they were made, and so God gave them more and more of his characteristics. There's nothing shocking about it, right? It's only when we don't do that. So the reason why I'm talking about that is that you need to have a balance. You need to know your identity, okay? If you don't have an identity, any sense of balance is going to be totally random, okay? You won't have a sense of balance because you're just going to be like, what do I feel like doing, right? So if today's society doesn't value religion, then you might not value religion because you don't know that you're created in the image and likeness of God, right? If today's society says, bun school, it'll be way more cool if we all just have Pokemon parties all day long, you might do that and be like, well, what's your problem? Everybody's doing that. And you might laugh at that I'm calling it the Pokemon one, but the thing is that we are doing that, right? Whether it's Pokemon or something else, we tend to just do what everyone else is doing, right? So how am I going to balance if I'm not even recognizing what's going on? So the only way to assess something, the only way to not be relative, is to find out what is the thing itself, right? So you have to start there. So we are in the image and likeness of God. And that's why I can't look at the love aspect or the work aspect or the play aspect outside of my identity as a Christian. Okay? Because I met somebody who was like, yeah, I don't have a problem sleeping around. Okay? And he wasn't joking, and he's a very good person. Who was like, I don't have a problem. I've learned how to compartmentalize. When I'm at church, I sing hymns. And when I'm outside, I do this. And he wasn't being sarcastic. Like, it's not like he was saying it like as a, as a challenge. He's very, very sincere, right? What was the issue? A lack of identity, right? Of why don't I do these things, right? What is it that is the reason why I don't do it? Okay? I'm going to give you another analogy, because I was a pharmacist. What happens if somebody has too much of a certain hormone? Yes. Okay? So if you have too much of an inhibiting hormone, what happens? Right, so a system stops. Something stops functioning. Right? What if I have the opposite? Right. Let me give you an example. Dopamine. Okay? Do you know what having too little dopamine does to you? Depression, and what else? Anxiety, what else? It's a good word, I like it. It's actually 2 words. Tardive dyskinesia. Okay? So you end up having very jolted motions. Okay? What happens when you have way too much dopamine? Hallucinations, right? You go into psychosis, right? You start off by just being high, right? But then you start having hallucinations, you have problems, right? Do you know how they discovered these things? They were treating Parkinson's people. I'm trying to remember which one it was. And when they gave them too much dopamine, then they started acting like they were high, right? And then when they're trying to inhibit dopamine in drug users, they found them acting Parkinsonian, right? Like they had Parkinson's disease. So what does this tell us about dopamine?
You can't have too much or too little.
Exactly. There needs to be a balance, okay? So you need to understand this, right? You have to understand this concept that balance is necessary. If we don't have that understanding, you're not gonna get anywhere, right? If you eat too much or you eat too little, both of them are a problem, right? If I only eat vegetables, everyone's like, eat your vegetables. What if I only eat vegetables? I'm actually gonna have a problem, right? If I only eat fruits, I'm gonna have a problem. I need to have carbs, I need to have protein, and I need to have fat, right? And I need to figure out how much of each of these things that I need. Because once I go outside of that balance, right, then we have a problem. And so we need to recognize that we have a need for balance now that we've established that there's, that we theoretically here believe in God, that God designed a world of balance. Within your body, everything is within a specific balance. If your temperature goes off by a certain amount, you get sick, right? The whole world is in balance, right? It's rotating on itself in a certain way. Gravity has a specific rate. You go outside of these certain laws, you have problems. So God designed everything in balance, and we need to realize that, right? And that is because you might just say, well, what's the big deal, right? Is that the big deal is that everything on earth is in balance. So if I don't know that, I won't do much. So we need these 4 elements to be in balance. Our worship, okay, the way we express our religious life in terms of the physical aspects of religion, but not in terms of the mindset of religion, okay? Because you can't ever turn that part off. Worship because that was established, love because it was established. So all of these, even these things that we're talking about balancing, we're only putting these on the list because God made them so. Not because I arbitrarily decided here are 4 good categories, okay? Because God designed man and said, yeah, go have fun, right? Till the earth and subdue it. On the 7th day, what did he do? He chilled, right? So he says, no, chilling is okay, right? But he also works 6 other days. Okay, so it's not like, oh, just khalifa out, take it easy and do nothing, right? So there was that aspect. And then he also said, so the earth is subdued, which meant there's a command to what? To work, okay? That's why I have work. And love, because this is God's identity, right? And it is your identity, right? And that's why the commandment always was love, right? Love your neighbor as yourself and love God above all, right? Everything in Christianity focuses around these. So the first thing is worship. So what are the aspects of our spiritual life? Go for it.
Well, I had a
Go for it.
It might be a little off topic, but when you're talking about the days, we don't know exactly how long the days were, right?
How long the what were?
Like they were like 24-hour days, right?
No, they were definitely not 24
So
hours.
like, we don't know how long the days were.
No, a day in the original language, okay, the same word that's used for day in the English one, it means era or age or sea. It basically means a fixed period of time, but that period of time isn't defined. So you could easily read the text in the original of saying, in the first era was light and dark, in the next generation was this and this, but it was not at all forced to be 24/7 at all. I know modern evangelicals tend to lean more towards that, and I think some Coptic Orthodox people have kind of taken from them, but in the Orthodox Church it was almost never heard of to talk about 24-hour days. Good question. Okay. What are the aspects of worship? Conversation, okay? Which is prayer, right? And Bible for the most part in other ways. Because today I'm going to talk mostly about the positives. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about the negatives. Right? Like tomorrow we're going to talk about what are the obstacles, but today I want to talk about what are the things we need to do. So that it's not always don't do this, and don't do that. So we said dialogue, what else? Sorry? Communion? Sorry, I thought you said, what do you mean? And I was like, about what? Okay, we need Eucharist. Very good, we do need Eucharist. Okay?
Praise.
Sorry?
Offer praise.
We need praise. What else do we need?
We need to repent and confess.
Repent and
Get
confess.
spiritual guidance.
Spiritual guidance, I'm going to come back to that one. When someone asks you, because it used to be when someone asked a person, are you religious? That meant like, are you a good person? And people would always be like, oh no, of course not, I'm not, I'm just a guy, right? And it was like, that was the humble answer. Today religious means, do you do church? It's like, yeah, I'm religious. So when people ask you, are you religious, what do they mean? What are they asking you that you do?
Do you practice like a routine?
Right, do you practice routine? Do you go to church? Right, do you believe in the whole God thing? Right, do you pray? Do you read the Bible? Do you not do all of these things that you theoretically believe are wrong? Right, so that's the spiritual life. So, as students, okay, because it's originally going to be to the college, but high school people have a life too, okay? What do you need to do on a daily basis, and how much, if we're talking about balance? Attend class, do homework, bazooka, and repeat. Study, okay. Cry.
Eat, exercise.
Eat, exercise, very good. Right. No, I made some mistakes with exercise. I used to go to squash during some lectures. I shouldn't say that out loud. So, there's a certain aspect. But Jonathan said something that he just kind of threw in there, but that's actually important. How do you decide how much of these and of what that you do?
There's always a suggested use for each one.
The suggested use, but then
Just like for exercise, مثلا, like it's always like 45 minutes to an hour is a good block of time to exercise.
right. I'm going to talk about specifically the religious stuff for now, and we'll come back to that.
You try it and then you see what's going on.
So you just try it. So if a dude or a dudette walks into the gym, actually this is a real example because I did this in college. I went in and I got on this crunch machine. I had never done it before. I did 20, I felt nothing. And I'm like, okay, apparently I'm like doing it wrong. I'll do another 20. I'll do another 20. I did like 450 or something like that. I felt nothing. So I'm like, I suck at this. And apparently I don't know how. The next morning, I couldn't even laugh because it hurt so much, right? So should I just try something? I mean, I could. I could have theoretically done 20 and walked away. But would I have got results from 20, and will I get the right results from 450?
Yeah, shouldn't shouldn't you talk to like, your father, profession, or someone with more spiritual wisdom? Because it's personalized, isn't it?
Thank you.
Based on your spiritual level.
Because you originally said spiritual guide. That was like Jonathan said it, and that's what's necessary. You have to have a spiritual guide. I'm sorry. Okay? If you don't have a spiritual guide, everyone's laughing. I think it's because I said sorry. I've been getting used to when to say it. If you don't have a spiritual guide, you might be running in vain. Right? So there's different things that have different roles and different balances at different times. Right? And we can go from extreme to extreme. I went to an extreme, most people do an extreme like negative. I had extremes of actually overdoing it, because when I was in college, that was when I was really like into God, and like late high school is when I was like, I don't know about this stuff. But, so I had to have a father of confession, my spiritual guide, who was the same person at the time, okay, actually toned down my service. Because I was affecting another aspect, I was affecting my school aspect. Because I was like, well, what's so wrong with this? I'm helping people, I'm so religious, and I love Jesus, and blah, 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 right? But it has to be a wisdom. So there are different aspects of your spiritual life. There's your reading of the Bible, okay? There's your spiritual reading, okay? Which not all of you might be doing, but would be a good idea to be doing, okay? There might be a community service aspect. There's a prayer aspect. There's a fasting aspect. There might be a matanya aspect. There's different parts of this, right? And what your spiritual guide does is figure out, who are you? That's what your spiritual guide should be doing. So you need to get to know your spiritual guide, and your spiritual guide needs to get to know you, right? It can't be random, right? Like for me, if I'm meeting somebody new, usually I'll give a general rule and say, I don't know you yet. I'll ask them questions first. What are you into? What do you like? What has worked? What hasn't? Okay, we'll start with this and then come back to me with how it's going, right? Because maybe there's somebody who is not much of a reader, but is really, really a very charitable person and likes to do community service, right? So everybody's going to need all of these aspects, all of these elements, but they might be in different ratios, right? I was somebody who loved to read, so I was like devouring, right? And you can go too much into it. At one point, I was reading so much, like I recently re-downloaded my emails from 2001, 2002, and my poor priest, because like I was like something like 50 a day. And today I know what that's like. So like from one person. And so at one point, Abuna told me, bro, well he didn't call me bro, but he was like, Habibi, like for every hour of reading, 1 hour of meditation, which got me really angry, because it meant that I was going to have to really tone back my reading, because there's not enough hours in the day for me to do both. Right? And he goes, you know what? He goes, lots of reading has created great theologians, and it's also created great heretics. And he goes, so I don't want you to be the new heretic. Right? Why? Because he has the wisdom and the age, and he was seeing where my thoughts are going, and he knew how to guide. So you need to have a spiritual guide, because you need to find out what are the things that I can do within my context. Right? Like, if I'm a student and I have a crazy academic schedule, no, I'm not like a normal spiritual father, like, oh, well, you should still do 7 hours of the Igbeya, right? In addition to your 20 hours of work and your 40 hours of class, and all of these things. Not many people that I know of would ever say, yeah, good idea, do 7, and do all the Psalms, right? They'd be like, okay, here's all we recommend, and work on it this way. So you need a spiritual rule, and you need a spiritual guide to give you that rule, right? It cannot be completely arbitrary. You also need liturgy, okay? Because I don't know if this is a California phenomenon or what it is, because I met so many people here like, I won't be at church on Sunday, I've got a big exam on Monday. And my response was like, so what? Like, I'm not seeing the dilemma. Right? Why does that have anything to do with your attendance at liturgy? Which means that you don't value liturgy, okay? Which means that you don't understand what it is that I need liturgy for. It also means that I have now put my work category above my identity, right? Because like we said at the beginning, the religious part defines the rest of them. Right? So I didn't want to get into the obstacles. We can do more of that tomorrow. But I need to have liturgy. So if I don't know why I need stuff, then you need to find out. Right? If a president comes up to me like, well, why do I have to know how to speak properly? Right? Then it's like, well, we'll tell you, because look at what happens when you don't. We have all of these videos about you. Right? So this is why you need to learn how to speak. Okay, you can't just say whatever you feel like. So if you don't know why you need something on the spiritual level, then go ask. Like, it's very simple, right? Because we're not doing them randomly, right? Nobody woke up in the morning like, here, I've got the best idea ever. Let's all just stand up and sit down a billion times and I'm going to name it Matanya, right? Like, if they did, then that's lame and we should all stop, okay? But if there's something behind it, if there's a meaning behind it, then we need to find out what is it, okay? Why do I fast? Is it because God thinks that food is evil? Okay, because if he did, then why did he make it? Right? So obviously it's not about the holiness or lack of holiness of a food. Okay, it's because of something that I'm supposed to get out of fasting. So, do I fast, yes or no? Why or why not? Do I know why I fast? And do I know why I'm not getting the results that I need from the fast? Okay, these are all aspects of the balance. If I don't know them, I'm not going to get anywhere. For the play part, okay, because I'm going to tie the other categories a little bit to the religion. How do most of our friends play? Sorry? On the phone?
Bar hopping.
I can't hear, my bad.
Bar hopping.
Bar hopping, right. What else?
Video games.
Video games? Okay.
Sports.
Sports? Good, these are a lot of positive ones.
Porn.
Sorry?
Porn.
Porn? Together? That's awkward. Okay. No, I've seen people exchange it. I didn't know that they now do too. That's messed up. Did you have something? Okay. Okay. There's lots of things, right? And I'm glad that you guys named positives and negatives because they both exist, right? You have somebody who's like, they'll hike and go camping together. You have other people who are like, well, let's be friends with benefits. Okay, like, let's be real, right? We know that these things exist, okay? So if these are the things that are going on, then A, I need to determine what kind of play is acceptable based on what?
My identity.
My identity, okay? That's the number one. Because it's like somebody who says, like literally, when I go to play, if someone says, well, I decided that the fun game that I'm going to play is I'm going to burn the soles of my feet, right? And you will be like, well, that's kind of messed up, right? Because it's an obvious thing to you that that's dumb. Why? Because I have a body, right? And I know that my body doesn't function very well with fire, right? And so these things have to be differentiated. But if I don't know my identity spiritually, if I don't know who I am in the image and likeness of Christ, I might be doing activities that are the equivalent of me doing that, and I don't realize how dumb it is, right? Or like there's like, for example, a person might not know that peeling their scalp over and over increases the risk of cancer. Okay? Most people don't know that. Is everyone who does that over and over going to get cancer? No. Right? But is that a risk? It is. Right? But until I know, right, I might be doing a behavior that negatively affects me. So with my play, right, then I need to determine what is healthy play. Right? Like that has to be the first aspect, right? Is this play healthy or not? Am I participating in behaviors that harm my identity? Yes or no? Because if they do, I'm sorry, it's stupid. Okay? Like it's not something that we should do. So that's question number one. In terms of my identity, does this match? Yes or no? If the answer is no, right? And don't look back. It would be like somebody who's like, well, it doesn't matter. I think I'll burn my feet just once. What the heck? It's worth it. Right? No, it's not. Okay? It's not worth it. And then when you do that to your body, you get messed up reactions, right? Whether it's pain or mental or whatever it is, things happen. So that should be question number one. Question number two should be, okay, well, how much? Right? And this is something I'm not going to preach about how much to do, right? Because there's not going to be a general rule. But we have people who game, and we have people who are addicted to gaming. Right? We have people who just text when there's an issue, and there are people who can't stop texting. Right? We have people who can Facebook for like half an hour, and we have people who cannot get off of Facebook. Right? All of these things exist. Right? So even if the activity itself isn't wrong, right? We need to subject it to this whole idea of balance, right? It's the equivalent of the whole, I'm going to only eat fruit, or I'm going to only eat meat. If I take that route with my play, then I'm not going to have a proper life. And what's going to happen if I play too hard? I'm going to get owned at school, right? Like, you might have a great mind. I did. And I say that now with confidence, and then I lost it. Because if you don't give it attention, it goes, right? If you don't give discipline to something, peace out, right? It's not going to last for long. So if you want to have your play balanced, right, you need to be, there's two aspects of it. One, you need to have people around you who play right, okay? Because if all of your friends are picking their scabs, you are going to pick your scab with them, okay? If all of your friends are burning their feet, you're going to eventually cave in and burn your feet. Like, you might laugh at the beginning and be like, well, they're good guys. They just have this weird thing with their feet. Like, you are eventually going to be like, well, I guess I should try it. I mean, I don't want them to feel like I'm judging them, right? Which is the most, like, lame thing. But, well, I won't go there because we'll talk about negatives tomorrow, right? But you need to surround yourself with positive people, okay, who agree on your definitions and who function according to those definitions, right? Do you see the hardcore Republicans, like, going to conservative camps or Democratic camps? Like, they're not. They're going to be like, no, I on principle disagree with them and their identity, right? Especially today. They won't do it, right? There's a reason why, and I use this example a lot, and I'm not using it judgmentally. There's a reason why smokers tend to be with other smokers, right? Not because they think the rest of the world is bad, right? But there's that awkward moment when you go out for your smoke, right? Of like, are they judging me, right? Because you're going to walk out and you're now different from the rest of the group. When you light that cigarette, you're different. And so there's this in-your-face moment of, am I right or wrong, right? And I don't want to be wrong. And even if I know I'm wrong, I don't want people telling me that I'm wrong, right? So I have to make sure that in order to achieve balance, I need to know my goal. And in order to have the goal, I need like-minded people with the goal. If I don't have that, I'm not likely to do well. So I need to have a group, I need to have a community that helps me do that, okay? So like, this is the whole concept of community. God created us in community, right? So this is a double-edged part. This is the love part as well as the play part, okay? Because God could have told Adam, I'm enough, right? We don't need Eve, right? Just chill, I'll teach you, you're going to love me, it's going to be great, right? Instead, he said, no, it is not good for man to be alone, right? I will create a helpmeet, meet means worthy, okay, for him. And they're going to live together, and then he tells them, have a family, right? And then he gives them the goal together. And this is before the fall, right? The command to be fruitful and multiply was before the fall. So it wasn't because we were so screwed up that God said, okay, go have families. Okay, it was his instruction before we messed up. So if I don't have community, it means that I've rejected part of my identity. So this love part is necessary. Okay, and I'm saying this because most of our generation, mine and yours included, we have love, but for only one thing, ourselves. Okay, it's a very egocentric community. We define the world and everybody's actions based on me, which is not going to give me balance, right? I'm like, she should not have spoken to me like this. He should not have done blah, 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 blah. Why does he want me to do this? Doesn't he or she know that I have blah, 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 blah? How dare they do yada, yada, yada? I met the dumbest person in the world, right? Like all of these comments are unknowingly making me the center of gravity, right? It's making me the decider of everyone who's good or evil, dumb or smart, right? And what is worth my time and how people should respond to me, right? If somebody, quote unquote, screws me over, you'll cuss them to like the second coming, right? But if you do something to someone else, like, I don't know why they can't understand what I'm going through right now, right? Suddenly it's like, why don't they know what my life is and how bad I have it, and I didn't have all these things that they had, and if they had a life like mine, I'd be shocked if they were able to talk, like, and blah, 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 right? You're focused on you. So love has to be balanced. Are you allowed to love yourself? Yes, you are. Right? Because Christ said, love your neighbor as yourself. Right? So there is a proper way to love myself. There is a proper way of caring for myself. But it's not, if it's imbalanced, right? If it's balanced, I'm not going to be egocentric. Right? And that's why I need to have a community. Okay? The community helps me play properly. Okay? It'll help me have a balance in my play. But the community also teaches me about my identity. Right? Because now I'm putting another person before me. I'm becoming like God. Because God made me and didn't need to. Right? God didn't have to make any of us. Right? That's a whole other talk. But the concept is that if God made us in love and denied himself for others, then that's what I'm supposed to do too. And so you need to find yourself a community if you want to be balanced. I know that for me and my homies, we kept each other in check, right? So like we studied hard, we all valued studies, we all valued play, right? We all valued church, we all had the same values. We were all in different places in our lives, but we helped each other, right? And it was fun, right? It wasn't like every time we got together, it's like, okay, where's the psalmody? Let's hold hands, let's sing kumbaya. Okay, that wasn't how we functioned, right? Did we sometimes do psalmody together? We did. Okay, we also played like games until 2 or 3 in the morning at our house. We also go camping every year until now. I'd say this a lot because I want to make it clear that the message of balance is not saying balance means no fun. That is not the message. Balance is have fun, have it in the right amounts and in the right way for your body. I think I'll leave some of the rest for tomorrow, but we said our aspects are worship, right, which we said you need a spiritual guide for. Love, because that's the image and likeness of God, which is who you are, that is your identity, and that you need a community because that's how God made it, that's the definition, it's not arbitrary, okay, and because it helps you keep the balance and everything else. We do need to work. I'm not going to talk much about the work aspect because it's more of an obstacle for most people these days than it is like an addiction. There's a few that have an addiction to work now, but lately not as much. And play. Any questions, comments, disagreements, stones to throw about this or anything related if you want? Okay, sick buzz. Did you have it?
I understand that, like, we're supposed to have a balance and fun, but when you're talking about, like, non-believers, or even, like, for me, it's hard to understand how can too much fun be, like, not good? Like, why can't I have fun in everything? Why can't I have fun in school? Why can't I have fun in whatever I do?
As a pharmacist, I would tell you, look at the patients that come in. The number one drug I think that I was giving out was antidepressants. So for all the fun that they're having, they're clearly not happy. Why? Because if you forget, and I just didn't want to redo a lecture on identity because most of you have heard it at least once or twice, is that I have something called the spirit, which is part of who I am. So if I only give attention to my body and not to my spirit, so that's a very good question, there is a part of me that's sick, that's actually sick, not theoretically sick, it's actually sick, right? And so because of that, they don't know why they're upset or sad or depressed, but the reason why is because they're giving too much pandering to one thing. Even on a psychological level, right? Whenever anybody pursues fun to the extreme, all that they end up doing is they're stimulating dopamine. So whether you're doing it through a drug or you're doing it socially, it's still the same mechanism. You've got your dope levels going up really, really high, and that's not what it's supposed to be. And we have an objective measure of what it's supposed to be. We know that there is such thing as a normal baseline level, right? And that if you spend time up here, you don't enjoy anything down here. That's just a fact, right? And that's why what happens when somebody gets addicted to any one thing, like whether it's fun or whatever form of fun, you tend to find them become demotivated, right? They tend to have short attention spans. They tend to find less meaning in normal everyday things. I'm not saying they have no meaning, it's just less. They become more apathetic, right? They are less willing to commit to things, and they find themselves very restless. Why? Because it's out of balance. So that is why fun all the time doesn't work. The other problem is that real life dictates that not everybody can have fun all the time. So if I decide I'm going to have all the fun all the time, then everyone else has the right to say, how come you get to? I will too. So who will farm? And who will sew? And who will be a custodian? And who will be a physician? And who will be an engineer? If everybody says, Bandas, I just want to have fun like everybody else. Because the reality is that because we live all together, we have to look beyond immediate gratification, which is the main core issue of the fun all the time. Is that? Does that answer? Very good question.